In this Photoshop challenge, you're actually going to be using a layer mask. And layer mask is simply a way for you to take a series of photographs and combine them into one. So if you look here, I've taken a student and I've used the continuous shooting mode on the camera to take several pictures of him walking along. You see how he's moving a little bit more in each one. Now, I would have liked to have gotten them all the way across, but for time's sake, I just got the first 8. Okay, so what I'm going to do though is I'm going to select those and I'm going to open these in Photoshop. And this last one here that opened is the last one in the series. Okay, whoops, hang on, that's not the first one. This one is the first one in the series. This one is the last one. Okay, so what I want to do is I actually want to use a method that's called duplicating layers so that each one of those winds up on this one file. So I'm going to start with the previous one. And I know it's the previous one because I'm looking at the numbering of the photos that the camera did. It makes it easy for me. I go up to the layer menu and I hit duplicate layer. I know that I want it to go in this very last one. So I choose that and I click OK. Now if I go back and look at that one, notice now how I have 2 layers and they are slightly different. Okay, so I know that that's the other one. So I can close that one and then I'm going to go to the next one. And I'm just going to go in order back to the beginning, duplicating the layers until I have all of them in 16. See, now I have 3. Okay, so I'm going to press pause while I get all of my photos duplicated into this one. Okay, so now if you look at my layers of this one photo, I can see that they are all here. Okay, I have, and each one, as I hide the previous layer, you can see the student walking a little bit. Okay, so now it's time for us to add the layer mask. Now this would be a good time for you to use your pen and your tablet because you're going to need to be using the brush tool here. And basically what we need to do, all of these have the same background because the camera didn't move. The only thing that moved was the student moving across the page. And so we want to combine these so that the student shows up in the same photo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all of the layers in between. I'm just going to show the top one and the bottom one. And I'm going to start with the top layer and I'm going to add a layer mask. That's this one right here. Okay. Now, when I click on it, notice you can actually see that it's selected. It's got like an outline around it. If I click over here, the photo gets selected. So make sure that you stay on the layer mask. Now, you may need to zoom in for this to make it a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to do that now. Go in there. Okay, and I've got my brush tool and I need to have black as my foreground color. And once I have my brush tool, I'll also want to come in here and adjust my brush size, the diameter and the hardness, and you will adjust that according to what your photo looks like. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit more since this is a little dark. And basically what I'm doing is I am using, oh, and my tablet's not working. Oh, that could be because my tablet's not plugged in. Oh, no, it is plugged in. Let me try one more, otherwise I have to go to the mouse. All right, so I'm using the mouse. For those of you that have a working tablet at your computer, you want to use that, okay? So here I go. All I want to do is I want to paint okay, and I chose the wrong color. Notice how the background is showing through there? That's not what I want. I want to use black on everything but him. That's what I want. Let me actually zoom out to full size, and I'm going to choose a super big brush. There we go. Now, and actually I maybe did move my camera just a little bit, but as I do this, see the black showing up here? I am painting black, and notice now how he's showing through down here. Okay, so the only part that I don't want to paint black is going to be this student. So I'm going to get as close as possible. Just like that. Now I can zoom in, and you may want to hide that layer if you get confused so that you can adjust it. Now I'm going to make the size go down to make it a little bit more workable. I'll zoom in a little bit more, and at this point I can kind of fine tune, and notice that all I'm doing is wherever I'm painting with this black, it's erasing that area. I'm going to press pause on mine until I finish this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've done a pretty decent job of coloring out the background, and now if I show that bottom layer, now you can look and you can see that there's actually two of him here. So what I would do then is I would repeat that same process on each of the new layers. So to make it easy, I would hide by clicking on the eyeball, the top one, and I'd add a layer mask to there. And then I would, whoops, and that's where it is. And then I would simply go about the same method. I'd start with a super large brush where I can black out, and you can see here in the thumbnail where I black it out, okay? And I can even make it super, super big and just go through with a few different brush strokes. Just make sure that you don't brush over him, otherwise you wind up having to repaint him or use the paintbrush again in white. And so you get it to where it's real close, okay? And then you can lower your brush diameter and zoom in. Again, you can hide the bottom layer until you get it fine-tuned. You'll repeat that method for each layer until you wind up with the finished product. Now I've only had time to do 5 of the layers, but you can see how they are building on one another. I could, if I needed to, because the background has been blacked out, I could actually move that a little bit and spread it out so that they're not quite so overlapping. But what you want is an effect like that where you have a series of 8 photographs of you moving, whether it's you walking, doing cartwheels, running, jumping, doing frog leaps. Just know that you do have to have movement going across from left to right or you won't see the effect take place. So again, 8 photos and using this layer mask. Remember that black represents what you are making invisible, and then the white is where you want it to show through.